The 2020 U.S. presidential elections will go down in history as one that brought the largest economy in the world its first female vice president, and that's Kamala Harris. Let's take a look at how the second-generation immigrant managed to make it to the second highest office in the shark-infested waters of U.S. politics.
Joe Biden burst onto the U.S. political scene as a vibrant young congressman, upsetting Republicans on his way in. Biden has been hailed as an age-old human rights activist. In 1986, he slammed Secretary of State George Shultz in Ronald Reagan's administration for America's response to apartheid in South Africa.
Our loyalty is not to South Africa, it's to South Africans.
We did it, Joe. You're going to be the next president of the United States.
Born in Oakland, California to two immigrant parents, an Indian-born mother and a Jamaican-born father, Kamala Harris's mother was a biologist who arrived in the U.S. from Tamil Nadu in India in 1958 as a 19-year-old graduate student. Harris's father, a Stanford University economics professor, arrived in the U.S. from Jamaica in 1961. Harris's parents prioritized her education and she attended a French-speaking primary school and then the Westmont High School, graduating in 1981. She went on to Howard University in Washington, D.C. While at Howard, she had her first experience in politics, interning as a mailroom clerk for California Senator Alan Cranston. She also chaired the Economic Society and led the debate team. Harris graduated from Howard in 1986 with a degree in political science and economics.
But while I may be the first woman in this office, I will not be the last.
Harris comes into presidency already a repeat trailblazer as California's first black attorney general and the first woman of South Asian heritage elected to the U.S. Senate. She began work in the Alameda County District Attorney's Office and became the District Attorney for San Francisco in 2003. She then went on to be California's Attorney General, smashing the glass ceiling by holding that prestigious position. A few years later, in January 2019, Kamala Harris launched her presidential campaign in her hometown of Oakland, California. The road to the Oval Office has not come without critique and much doubt. Harris has been accused of defending the Three Strikes Law, legislation for previous offenders which saw black people incarcerated at a rate 12 times higher than white people. However, her backers point to Back on Track, a program adopted by Harris that was meant to be an alternative to incarceration for first-time non-violent offenders. Many of her policies and lived experiences resulted in a public clash with now U.S. President-elect Joe Biden, and then later a twist in both campaigns when she was chosen as his vice president candidate. Love or hate her, Kamala Harris has proven throughout her career that she is no pushover. And by becoming the 49th U.S. Vice President, many see this as a stepping stone to shattering the ultimate glass ceiling and taking a place in 4 years' time behind the desk in the Oval Office.
More excited that we now have not only the first female vice president, but we have the first Asian American, Black American vice president in the White House. And I'm so excited for Kamala Harris. I'm very excited for Biden, and I'm excited to get Trump out of the White House. But this is big.
Let's talk now to Capri Cafaro, a former Senate member of the Ohio State. A very, well, it's good afternoon on our side, but I believe it's what, 7:15 in the morning for you. So greetings to you. Let's keep it generic. Focusing on Kamala Harris, what do you believe her focus should be, perhaps within the first 100 days?
Well, because Vice President-elect, soon-to-be Vice President Harris, has a background in law enforcement as the Attorney General of the state of California, and previous to that, in legal roles in the San Francisco Bay Area. It would seem to me, even though obviously we will have an Attorney General in Merrick Garland when he is confirmed by the Senate, that Kamala Harris has an ability to utilize both her legal acumen and the fact that she is the first female vice president and vice president of color to really be an advocate to push the agenda of racial equality and trying to deal with some of the issues of racial injustice that came to a head last year. And I think that the American public, particularly those that voted for the Biden-Harris ticket, are looking for leadership in the area. of trying to combat racial injustice in the United States.
Now, if we look at the Democrats, we've got the moderate wing and we've got the progressives. Can you make a distinction between those two and what they respectively stand for?
I think it depends, frankly, on the region of the country the individual comes from. So you may have, someone that is progressive on certain issues and more conservative on others. I mean, I can speak for myself and just say that, I consider myself maybe a moderate or a centrist, but I would be probably more progressive on a number of social issues. Trying to be more equitable in matters of immigration, of healthcare, of LGBTQ rights, things of that nature that are usually associated with more progressive aspects of the Democratic wing. But I would see myself as more fiscally conservative, concerned about issues of overreach of regulatory aspects on business and things like that. So it really varies. And I think that it's difficult to try to pull those two things apart. But over the last few years, I think because of the rise of Bernie Sanders, of Elizabeth Warren, and others, really making economic justice a focal point on the progressive side, whether it is healthcare access for all, healthcare coverage here in the United States, for insurance, which is how we access healthcare services, increasing the minimum wage. A lot of those issues are, front and center for progressive Democrats, in addition to, some of these more traditional liberal social issues that, like gun control or supporting same-sex marriage, things of that nature.
If we look at Kamala Harris, she's been very leftist as far as issues like gay marriage are concerned and the death penalty. But despite that, some have accused her of not being progressive enough. Is this something you believe she's going to try and remedy in any way? And if so, how?
I think that, Senator, soon to be Vice President Harris is going to be who she is. I don't think that we're going to see, a lot of pandering necessarily coming from her. I mean, she's made some pretty outlandish statements, for example, likening the immigrant and customs enforcement, ICE, to being seen as the KKK by some. So that's, a pretty, extreme statement out there, but I think that, frankly, one of the things that Kamala Harris has been criticized about in the context of not being progressive enough is her record in law enforcement. So she's an interesting figure because on one hand, she does have credibility, with moderates, but she also does have credibility with the more progressive wing. So I don't think that we're going to see a lot of pandering. I do think that she will try to be that harbinger and messenger, though, to the more progressive wing of the Democratic Party, simply because, she is younger, she's a woman, she's a person of color, and, she's a newer face on the national political scene as well as within the Democratic Party, whereas Joe Biden has been around for 50 years, is a 78-year-old white man who, by and large has been seen, particularly by those who are more progressive, as, too centrist, the Democratic Party of old. So I think that, when Biden picked Kamala Harris, I think it was specifically designed to bridge that gap between, the old and the new, the progressive and the moderate wings of the Democratic Party.
And talking about that, you mentioned the fact that Kamala Harris is biracial. She's got a Jamaican father and a mother of Indian origin. Now, she is about to become the first black female vice president in a country where racial tensions are high. How do the respective racial groups within America relate to her, view her? What does she symbolize for them?
Well, I think she symbolizes, what it means to look like 21st century America, not just to communities of color, but to all of us. The fact that, she is a biracial woman married to a white Jewish man who has children. They have this big blended family all together. She is a working woman. She now has the second gentleman, which is the first second gentleman in American history where we have a male spouse that is going to stand there next to a female, the second highest, most powerful leader in the United States. I'm getting chills just thinking about that. So for her, I think that, the fact that she is a biracial woman with a blended family, she looks like America today. And I think that we are all recognizing, particularly younger generations, that this is who we are. And she encapsulates, what America is in 2021.
When we look,
who we are.
When we look back at the path that Barack Obama had to walk to become the president of the United States, and the type of euphoria that was prevalent in the United States and I guess also around the world, if we look at Kamala Harris's journey, are there any similarities there? Did they face the same challenges? Both of them are biracial, and really both of them are holding positions of firsts in so many spheres.
Right, you're absolutely right. And I think that there are parallels. I mean, the fact of the matter is that both Barack Obama and Kamala Harris, rose very fast through the ranks in some ways. Barack Obama was only a senator for 4 years before being elected president of the United States. Prior to that, being a state senator in Illinois. So, the fact that he was able to make that leap in such a short period of time is very similar to what we've seen with Kamala Harris, who, was just elected, 4 years ago as well to the United States Senate from California. Her absence now, actually, in the United States Senate means that there are no women of color, no, at least African-American women, in the United States Senate now. So there's only been 2 African-American women ever to serve in the United States Senate in the history of this country. So there certainly are some similarities there. There, I think, are certain unique challenges that come with being a female candidate, even, in the 21st century. And I think that, Kamala Harris uniquely bears some of those challenges as well. And about having a family, balancing a family, having her own kids, having stepkids, I mean, all these different kind of things. But I also think that Kamala Harris is possible because of Barack Obama happened as well.
Very powerful statement to leave our conversation on. Capri, thank you so much. Kamala Harris is possible because Barack Obama happened like that. Capri Cafaro, she's a former Senate member of the Ohio State.